Citizen 4.1 is here, and with it comes a wave of exciting additions. The game's first ever alien NPC, massive new sandbox mission zones, long-awaited bug fixes, new weapons, new ships, new armor, fresh mission types, and even exclusive in-game earnable rewards. There's no shortage of content to dive into, and it's clear the team is pushing hard to deliver on their promise of content and playability in 2025. So then let me break it down for you in this cinematic look at the best features of 4.1. And if along the way you enjoyed the ride and feel I've earned it, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to show your support. Just like I hope you'll stick around for the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. I know you guys have already heard about them from tons of other creators like me, but I really have used them for years before I even got sponsored, which is why I was really happy to work with them. I got sick of using shady free VPNs, which I knew I couldn't trust with my info, just so I could get access to websites that I needed to for work while I'm abroad in Taiwan. So now with Nord, I can do my job and even watch shows that aren't available here in Taiwan as a bonus, like Stargate SG-1, an absolute sci-fi classic. So if you're looking for a reliable VPN service and you want to support my channel along the way, you can head on over to nordvpn.com/morphologis to get a huge discount on a 2-year plan, plus get 4 additional months for free. That's nordvpn.com/morphologis, and if none of it really works for you, you can always get your money back with their 30-day money-back guarantee. While you can look at 4.1 as a collection of different content and maybe some light features, really everything is connected in this patch by a single thread, and that's the ongoing Regen Crisis. It's a crisis happening surrounding the way that people come back to life in the Star Citizen universe. You see, you can ensure your biometric data at a corporation that will clone you in the event of your death and transfer your consciousness from your dead body to your new body, so it's effectively like you never even died. There are major ethical concerns with whether or not that person's actually you when you come back to life, but that's outside the scope of this video, and I'm not gonna get into those deep philosophical questions. It's kind of like that Star Trek transporter question. I'll let my fellow Star Trek nerds in the comment section below explain what I'm talking about. So anyway, this process is for some reason breaking down and some people aren't coming back to life. This has nothing to do with players for right now, but I guess it'll probably eventually tie into the death of a spaceman, this whole thing that they want to do with how your character can permanently die in some conditions. To try to find out what's happening, a corporation by the name of Rayari is requesting that people find very rare minerals to help them research how they can solve the problem, and so this is how everything is tied together in the next patch. Players are tasked with going out and finding these rare minerals and resources by either mining or salvaging, hand mining, ground mining. There's a lot of ways to do it, but you can take those materials and then exchange them for cash, or you can decide to be a little bit more selfish and take them to the new Bennu mission giver, who's exchanging those resources for exclusive in-game rewards like weapons and armor and even entire ships with high-end loadouts that are better than what you could buy on the website, including skins that you just can't buy, period. I'll be showing you guys exactly where you can do this stuff in a moment, but first, let's break down the different features of 4.1. Or more accurately, the content of 4.1, because there is a difference. Starting with some simple stuff, we've got some new ships and vehicles. Starting with the Drake Golem, a new very small mining ship with 2 16 SU boxes off the back that can be detached if you want to work with this in a large group. It makes it very good for big mining operations, but it's also targeted towards new players who are looking to get into mining for the first time. It's very conservatively priced on the website at $75 with a starter package, and is even cheaper if you're just buying it by itself. But don't worry, if this is too much, you can always wait to buy it in-game in the next patch. Then you have the Argo Geo, which is a new mech suit with a jump pack on it, and this ties to its function as a mobile mining platform that you use to really do spelunking in caves with a lot of verticality, which ties into, of course, the current sandbox activity, which was just added into the patch, which we'll go into a little bit later. It's available on the website as a standalone vehicle for $40. There's no starter package associated with it because it can't really fly around in space. But again, like all other vehicles, wait till the next patch if you want to buy it in game. It'll probably be very inexpensive as it's a vehicle. Vehicles are usually pretty cheap to buy. Speaking of ships to buy, they've added a bunch more to the ship shop, like the Argo CSV-M, which is a little ground pickup truck, the Crusader Intrepid starter ship, the Anvil Terrapin Medic, the Mirai Pulse LX little ground hover bike, and the Ursa Lynx, which is the luxury variant of the Ursa. There's also been some changes in-game, so if you've already purchased a ship and own one or purchased one in-game, You might notice some differences in this patch. Heavy fighters have gotten a balance pass, for example, to adjust their health, thruster power, and top speeds. The turrets for multiple ships have been finally slaved to the pilot seat to make them just a little bit easier to fly for pilots. The Reclaimer now has 2 side turrets now slaved to the pilot seat. The Carrack has the top remote turret now slaved. The Valkyrie has wing guns now that are slaved, which have been changed to size 4s instead of size 1s. The Raft's remote top turret's now usable by the pilot, and the Starlifter M2 and A2's chin turret is also now slaved to the pilot seat. This makes a lot of ships that were a bit hard to fly as a single pilot a little bit easier to manage, especially if some pesky NPCs start messing with you while you're out and about, but I wouldn't really count on these too much for PvP, as big ships right now are kind of in a tough spot as they balance things for the upcoming engineering gameplay. And lastly, they've made functional control surfaces work on the Gladius as well as the Titan, although they currently don't affect aerodynamics like they have planned for future patches. 4.1 also introduces Tier 0 item recovery, which basically just means that when you die, you don't lose what's on your body except what you might have had in your inventory, like your backpack or your armor. And as part of this, save for what's in a player's inventory, nothing can be looted now from players that have been killed. Well, outside of the scope of this video, it has caused a bit of controversy in the community as it has pretty drastically changed the way that FPS combat works in Star Citizen, as being able to respawn fully equipped has made things like medical beds effectively asunder from PlanetSide 2, where you could just keep respawning over and over and over again until that respawn point is destroyed, or until the other team just gives up from attrition. And by that I mean boredom. It just gets boring after a while. This system is meant to be temporary though, as they've got plans for Tier 1 and Tier 2 implementations of this system, which will make the balance a little bit closer to what it was, but not quite. They've still got some work to do on explaining exactly how it's going to work with all the planned systems, and we'll just have to wait and see when that comes out. In order to address the system being overly exploited by some weapons that were previously balanced by rarity, they've severely nerfed the grenade launcher to the point where it doesn't really even work anymore. It looks like the rounds just pass through players and NPCs. And they've made the ammo for railguns, Animus missile launchers, and the grenade launcher be exempt from the respawn system, so when you come back alive, you'll still have to find more ammo for those weapons. In unrelated changes, the Ripper SMG has gotten a slight buff to its damage. The P8 AR has been slightly nerfed with more spread and more recoil. The recoil time to get back to 0 is now much higher. But the FS9 has gotten a nice little buff where the projectile speed has been increased from 400 to 600 meters a second, making it a pretty nice little LMG to use while you're going about doing missions. On the new side of things though, they've got the new Volt weapon, which has been added into the game. You can find these at the Hathor locations or earn them from the mission givers if you're interested, or you could also buy it off the website. That's always an option, of course. But the earned in-game ones at least have some exclusive skins that you won't be able to get anywhere else. On the bug fixing side of things, they've added some bwin tech updates to make the game run a little bit better on the server, so there's less desyncing. They've removed the option to disable clouds from the settings. This is a balancing decision, not really a performance decision, as in some areas you can use the lack of clouds to your advantage, which would be unfair to some people playing the game when it's more competitive. They've introduced a slew of performance and bug fixing into the patch to make it just run better overall, and they've added in some new loading screens which fill you in a little bit on the lore of what's going on in the patch, like what I alluded to at the beginning of the video. And they've made some pretty significant changes to physics calculations for ship collisions, making it so that you can no longer ram to death in a single blow a Polaris with a starter ship. This has been an ongoing and annoying issue with large ships, but, and you didn't hear this from me, large ships now can ram other smaller ships with impunity. I saw this happen with the C2 getting rammed by a Polaris in a safe zone. The Polaris came out just fine in that exchange. And in some exciting news for 10 people in the community, the Arena Commander module has been updated to include the new Crossroads of Crime map, which is really just a shelved Theaters of War map that they ported over. I know because I played it at CitizenCon when they showed it. Clearly they're not going to do this mode anymore, so they're just giving us the assets for it to use. You can play Tank Royale, Team Elimination, Elimination, Gun Rush, Single Weapon Elimination, or FPS Kill Collector if you want. And the other map is Aster's Clearing, which is a location already on Microtech. It only has free fly for the moment, so we'll have to wait to get any other game mode for it. It's actually a pretty cool location, and I hope that they do add some other modes to play on. For you miners out there, the mining system has gotten a bit of an overhaul and an expansion. The system for mining has now been split between FPS mining and vehicle mining to give the different systems a little bit more to do that's different from one another. Ground minables now have some exclusive new minerals to get. This is related to the event I talked about at the beginning of the video. And there's now a small collection of exchangeable size 0 mining heads for ROC mining vehicles, as well as the new Geo. You can swap them in between each other if you like, with 2 additional ones you can find in shops, such as the ones found at the Lagrange point stations around the various major landing areas in Star Citizen. They've also added ROC mining pods, Geo mining pods, as well as the new Golem mining pods to the shop, so now you can swap them out to make your mining operations a lot more efficient if you've got a big crew running. And of course, they've added some fixes into the game to make the whole mining system work like it's supposed to. Hopefully by the time you've watched this video, everything's working just fine. And 4.1 also sees the introduction of their first alien mission giver, a brand new guy by the name of Wikelo, who's got 3 locations scattered around the Stanton system. But you won't need to visit his house just yet. You only need to go to the mission system and look for his collector missions, where he'll tell you exactly what he's looking for. What he needs, it ranges from really weird, eccentric things like burritos and specific drink types, which you can find at certain locations around the verse. The first set, by the way, of things that he needs can be easily found at the Mike L1, that's around Microtech Lagrange Point, if you're curious to find that Q66 drink and the burrito. And the Tundra Horns can be found basically around the equator or in the brown areas of the planet's surface. Hopefully that helps you get going. With the other stuff though, you'll have to look a little bit harder, and some of it's going to involve that new sandbox activity. In exchange, he gives you anything from some simple weapons to some custom ones with some very cool and exclusive skins, some exclusive armor, all the way up to exclusive ships ranging from small fighters all the way up to a Polaris with the very best loadout and a wicked custom golden skin. This marks the first time that Star Citizen has introduced an in-game structure to regularly earn rewards from, and I hope that this sets a precedent for mission givers to earn exclusive things, like from the ones that we already have, like Twitch Pacheco, who's at Area 18, or Clovis Darnley on Hurston. I want to see more of this kind of thing because I think this is a really great way to drive engagement and working together with other people in the community. If you want to see in person what he gives away, you can visit his 3 locations found on the map. You can land there, he'll talk to you, and you can see some really cool stuff. When you've got all the things you've collected to exchange, you actually have to go to these locations and physically put them on the cargo lift. So be ready to drop things from your inventory and sort them. You'll want to bring a tractor beam. And no, before you ask, I have no idea what's going on with that mech suit that has weapons on it. I believe Wikelo and the devs are trolling us here. So then you might be wondering, Morph, how do I get the material I need for this cool stuff? Well, that's where the new sandbox activity comes in, and this is the headline feature, the headline content for 4.1. Now, you'd be forgiven for calling the new Hathor locations an event, and actually, I've done it myself a few times by accident, but it's actually what the developers are calling a sandbox activity, which has a key distinguishing characteristic. It's not going away after the next patch. In that sense, then it's basically like a scaled up version of the contested zones in the Pyro system, where it's designed to be one of the many continuous loops that players can choose to engage with anytime they log on. Being in the Stanton system, though, the intention of the developers has clearly been to make this event more balanced towards PvE. It's definitely not playing out that way though, and I'll go more into that later. To fill you in on the details, 4.1 introduces 4 new large locations left over by the now defunct Hathor group, split between the Hurston planetary system on the boiling hot moon of Aberdeen, same moon where the prison is located, and in the Crusader planetary system on the sands of Damar's moon. Each of the 4 locations consists of 5 points of interest: an orbital mining laser situated high above and dead center of the other 4, 3 sprawling alignment and calibration satellite dish complexes, and a central mining site with an operations bunker. In short, your objective here is to fire the laser up, which will temporarily open up a mining location where much of these important rare minerals and resources are located for the Rayari and Wikelo missions. Along the way, you're going to be fighting some pretty cool new wildlife, like the Maker, or the Valakar, these baby worms that will get angry if you make too much noise, so see standing on rocks for safety. Unfriendly pirate factions who occupy the site, and of course, other players who may or may not be willing to work with you on finishing the whole thing. No matter what you do though, even running this solo, eventually you're going to be fighting alongside or against other players, so it's probably best to come prepared with a group of friends or to group up with those already there if they're willing. While you're there, you're going to have plenty of opportunities though to loot some basic kit all the way up to the very best types of ship components, rare FPS weapons like railguns, and exclusive skinned weapons and variants of a brand new set of armor called the Antium set. To participate, you'll need to bring a max lift, tractor beam, a weapon, a heavy or medium armor set, and a big backpack. Going alone isn't advised, but if you do decide to go by yourself, then you should bring a ship with a cargo bay in order to bring some of the mission items like the battery packs you'll need at the space station, as well as some loot that you'll pick up for ship components. If you're going by yourself though, or even in a small group, be prepared to run away if you see red or unfriendly players and you're not really good at PvP, as they're likely going to eliminate you on sight. I'll be releasing a separate video and comprehensive guide on how to go through this event, what you should look for, general best practices, and I want to make it an entire video as it really deserves to have some space to breathe. So it's a really fun activity, but Star Citizen 4.1 isn't perfect, so let's talk about the playability and issues in the year of playability and content. One of the things that CIG has changed in 2025 is how they release patches. By now, we've seen that since the release of 4.01, 4.02, and 4.1, they followed up with hotfixes regularly to make sure that critical issues are being addressed. This is good as of this video, there are still some critical issues remaining, but thankfully, none of them are on the level where you can't play the game at all or the game is being taken down. If this continues, then I think we can really expect to see a year that is truly a playable experience, but I certainly wouldn't expect to see a perfect experience by the end of the year, as it is still in alpha and they're still adding content and features, which always cause more bugs. The biggest issues I see are more to do with game design and balance. Issues with tier 0 item recovery while improving the quality of life in some ways does have some detrimental effects on some loops, and the mission system lagging behind since the introduction of server meshing has also meant that the bounty hunting system for players has still not been reintroduced, and this has had a meaningful and observable impact on the new Hathor activity that we've just been talking about. A diminished consequence to death coupled with a lack of counterbalancing for player killing with the bounty hunting system just not existing means that griefers have a distinct advantage given that their objective is not to collect anything, but is instead to disrupt other players' experiences. I'm making a conscious choice here not to conflate griefers with pirates because there's a key difference. Pirates need to put things in their inventory and can lose them just the same as lawful players. Even still, the effect of tier 0 and a lack of counterbalancing means that Star Citizen is now an environment where it's probably safer to shoot first and ask questions later. Throw in the fact that voice over IP doesn't work since server meshing has increased the player cap, and well, it's harder than ever to try to talk to somebody before you get zeroed. More work then still needs to be done in order to make Stanton feel like a more lawful system, like bringing back the bounty system and the heat system where NPCs would warp to a location if there's a lot of combat and player killing going on. That is, of course, unless it's not important to distinguish gameplay between the lawless pyro system and the supposedly lawful Stanton system. Overall though, despite the issues, I've really been enjoying Star Citizen 4.1. I found myself wanting to play more often than not thanks to the new things waiting to be earned, and it's even more fun than ever to hop in with my community, the Armco community. And if you want to join us, you can find the link in the description below. Their funding has clearly shown that they're doing something right, even if they're still not attracting new players like they have in previous years. A definite blind spot that they need to address. But how are you feeling about it? How are you enjoying 4.1 so far? If you're new, does the patch make you change your perspective on the game? Are you wanting to get in it now more than ever? Let me know down below, and if you want a chance to have your referral code featured in videos like these, you can do that by supporting me over on Patreon and get access to some pretty cool exclusive content. Anyway guys, I've been Morphologis, hope to see you in the next one.